Sorry to do that. I always feel a bit funny when that happens.
Mhm. No problem.
Yeah, I mean, I very much have this quite strong feeling now these days that this is not about spirituality at all. You know, that this is about our basic, fundamental human nature. This is about being alive and real. It's not
Mm.
about spirituality. And sometimes, you well, I can't think of an example, but I've had the experience a few times where I've been asked to categorize it, and they give me a list of options, and it's almost like even spirituality is subsumed under religion, and that kind of just doesn't feel even close. It's the opposite of religion in a way.
And even the word spirituality is open to, well, we have individual interpretations, don't we? But I sense the way you were pointing to it, that we're pointing to it here, it's influence from a particular tradition. Um, Spirituality can be just simply what is invisible in the context of
Mm,
real life. And I think that's what we're pointing to, isn't it? Paying attention
Yeah.
to what is considered to be invisible and the profound effect that that has on us.
yep. I'd even go as far as to say that society is a religion.
Hmm. Yeah. Bound by rules and protocols. And,
Yeah, well, it's almost a cult, isn't it?
hmm.
Fits a lot of those definitions. I always have this mental game goes on in my head about the words culture. You know,
Yeah.
our culture starts with the word cult, and it's not dissimilar to a cult. But where does culture fit into society? That's also a bit of a tricky one.
Hmm. And
Yeah,
at Generation Unleashed, I mean, it really just points us to this act of looking. Just look,
Yeah,
what's here? What's really here? And
yeah.
it's such a beautiful um, perspective, shall we say? Hard to find the words, but looking and discovering.
mm,
Yeah, well, Vince, to your point, the whole world really is basically walking around in kind of a trance. I mean, when you think about it,
Or,
it's on the bell curve, everyone's kind of in a trance, but that's normal. And the outliers, we're probably the outliers, you know, now, which is paradoxical in a sense. Once you see
yeah,
through the self, you see, well, I walked around in that dream for so long, or I walked around in that trance for so long, and now I'm normal. But no, I'm not normal now.
yeah.
I'm an outlier on the bell curve now, so I better keep my mouth shut.
Right over in the weirdo section.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that what you put on your shingle, Paul? Weirdo lawyer?
No, no, people just like lawyers enough already without adding to it over here. What do you call 20 dead lawyers at the bottom, 20 lawyers at the bottom of the sea? A good start.
Haven't heard that
That's
one.
that's the most popular joke.
Yeah,
I get told that joke probably 100 times in my career. Oh yeah, that's
do you
hilarious.
really? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, great. So no, nothing special on the sign. I don't. My shingle is long hung up. I retired. I do research for a few
Yeah.
lawyers and stuff, but I don't practice anymore. I'm done with that.
They know how to track you down, though. Yeah. Here's one we can't handle. We need you.
Oh, well, thank you. I actually feel like I do more good here than I did as a lawyer because no matter what the outcome in most situations, everybody ends up hating the lawyers.
Yeah.
because you never come up with you come up with a solution that everybody hates, basically, is the way most of that stuff ends up. So I don't miss it at all.
Hmm.
Mm. How are you, Kevin?
I'm good, thanks, Vince. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Good to see you here.
Good to be here. Good to hear you all. I had a bit of an epiphany last night. I found the internet and Facebook almost not repulsive, but it was pushing my. I couldn't look at egos, and it was pushing my own ego button or something. So that was interesting. I had a fever as well, so sorry if I'm sweating so much, but yeah, something was going down. I don't know what.
Mm.
But yeah,
It's
thanks for your.
always interesting to see something in action. It's if we don't, even if we don't know exactly what it is, as long
No,
as we don't get consumed about wanting to know what it is, it can be really interesting.
yeah, yeah. I was just sitting with it and going, "Wow, this is different. I haven't had this before." So I think the talks with you has really helped. The exercises.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, certainly, once we kind of lift that lid even a little bit, it's amazing how it can affect us physically as well as every other which way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Big time.
So is that the only symptom you've got, the sweating?
No, I had a fever and I had shivers last night, and then all night. This is like my fourth T-shirt in the night.
Mm, mm.
I don't know what it is, but it doesn't actually feel like a sickness. It feels almost like something different. Yeah,
Yeah, yep, yep, yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
so one of the things that I always tend to I love organ language as a way of pointing to things. That seems to always have some accuracy about it. But okay, so these other things too. And one of the things that I see that happens when we get a fever,
yeah,
temperature, is that it's our body burning up toxins.
yeah,
It's a cleanup job.
yeah. That feels right.
Yeah.
Feels like something's coming out for sure. Yeah,
Yeah, we can even use the word like eliminating. We eliminate through the skin.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. About a month ago, I played the bass, and it was an old bass, and it had rusty strings on it. I played for a good hour with my thumb that I don't usually play with, and it became infected, and my thumb blew up like a plum. So, that was an infection. So, yeah, had a bit of stuff going on the past bit, and my wife said she's got what was it, compassion fatigue, and that pushed my buttons. Wow, that pushed my
Yeah.
buttons. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's a good description. That's a real thing, isn't it?
it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I went into straight into, oh, what about this? When I was compassionate to you, blah blah blah. Instead
Yeah.
of just sitting with it. Yeah, but we came good. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, the really great thing about that one is the recognition of a defensive reaction.
Mm.
That's always a portal into something.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
sure is. Yeah. Yeah, we're sitting on the beach up the Sunshine Coast, so a beautiful environment, but there was a hell realm going on in my mind. Yeah, so that was interesting, but we came good, as I said.
Mm.
Were you aware of any particular sensation with that, Kevin?
Yeah, a sort of heat Yeah, it was a heat sensation.
Okay.
So leading on from that was the fever, I suppose. Yeah. That's interesting.
It is.
Mm.
Yeah, I went over my notes last night from Vincent, and yeah, he mentions going to the sensation, but I kind of forgot to do that in the heat of the moment
Indeed.
yesterday.
That's good. Excuse the pun, eh? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. But it
And
is
the
right there is the opportunity to
Yeah,
just sit with that sensation. And I love the way that you described it as heat.
yeah,
It's getting under the labels, uh,
yes,
and just to stay with that. That seems to be the treasure chest.
yes,
It really,
yes. It's tricky, you know. There's a tendency within me anyway to move away from discomfort.
and you've got it there. You know, that's been aware of that. That's what we're moving away from. It would seem. You know, we seem to think that we're moving away from situations, but we're actually moving away, not wanting to be with that uncomfortable sensation. And
Yeah,
that's we hear people talking about the gap. You know, and what is this gap? We've got to sit in the gap. They use that term in the feathers, and sitting in this uncomfortable space and just watching what happens. That seems to be the word coming here is the miracle zone. I mean, that's a bit
yeah,
dramatic, but I think
yeah.
you know what I'm saying.
That's
Yeah,
gold. Yeah, thank you.
yeah, that's beautiful, Kevin.
Yeah, I think if I practice, thank you. I think if I practice, I'll get there more often.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the practice really is it's a new way of living emerging.
yes, yeah, yeah. I'm often distracting myself, whether it's with music or
Yeah,
guitar or something, just to get away. Yeah,
exactly. And even though even though we feel we can't do this well at all about sitting with it, that's not the point. Just being willing to come back again and again
right.
is something happens when the light of awareness, for want of a better term, is, is right there on that sensation.
Nice. Yeah,
and just a little reminder that a phrase you used about getting there is I want to say it's a furphy.
it's a mistake. Yeah,
The other part of the world don't know what a furphy is.
yeah,
But what it's a misdirection in the sense in that getting there is in the future.
yeah.
There is somewhere other than here.
Right.
Right? And so what is really going on is you're starting to recognize what is now, not the future, here, not
Right.
over there. Right?
Sure. Nice. Yeah.
And when a phrase or a mental image comes up of there, getting there, achieving something in the future, you can immediately go, not that that's wrong. You don't go bad boy. What
Okay.
you go is, that's the trigger for me to look at what's here now.
Right.
And then the sensations are just the entranceway, if you like, to the cave. You know, the sensations gives you something to focus on that is not a mental process.
Yeah.
And so the consequence of that is that you then start to be present. You start
Right.
to, yeah.
Right. I hear you. Yeah. Yeah. That resonates. Nice. Thank you.
So with all of those kind of things, the thing that we're looking for is that moment of recognition when we recognize that our focus is not here. Our focus is somewhere else.
Right.
and that
Yeah.
and we don't do anything with that other than appreciate the fact that we recognize that, and then we can simply watch change happen. We don't have to do anything. We don't have to strap on our utility belt and look for tools.
Wow. Yeah, well, I've been doing that wrong then. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I love it when you say that. I've been doing that wrong. Yeah, there is. All right. I get what you mean, and it's the brilliant moment that you missed wasn't in saying I've been doing that wrong, but it was in the fact that you recognise that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where the brilliance was. No, it had nothing to do with wrong or right,
Uh-huh.
or what you're doing or what you will do in the future. It all had everything to do with what happened now, which was, oh, I've been doing that wrong. Oh, I recognise that. Oh, I see
Just wanted to
something.
let you know that I got an
Yeah.
email.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I wanted to let you know
Yeah.
I've got an email from Trish. And she
I go to school.
Yeah.
That's
So
all.
it's always a trick, and that is that the mind automatically goes to the content of
Yeah.
the thought. You know,
Yeah.
do you remember that story about the thoughts being like a book floating past, and we recognise the title,
Yeah.
but we don't want to open the book and start reading. You know, that all of a sudden nothing else exists then except the story.
Yes.
We want to just keep it as a closed book thought, that we just see the title and let it push it into the background.
Yeah. Yeah. I was reading a bit of Jed McKenna yesterday, and I feel almost like one of the characters in his book, a person who had been in spirituality groups, and that's me really for the last 15 years. And I feel like I need to be, what's the word when you've been in a cult for a while? I almost have to be
Yeah,
extracted from that thing. Yeah.
yeah, decultured or
Deculture.
something.
Yeah, something like
I
that.
I don't know if that's a word, but it'll do. Yeah. Well, that's right, and the cult is our culture. The cult is our society, and that
Yeah.
way of thinking that we've been, intensely conditioned to. Well, I mean, we could even use the word brainwashed. You
Yeah.
know, we've been brainwashed to think in a certain way with a certain flavour and look at things from a certain perspective and so on.
Yeah.
And that's where the word liberation kicks in. All of a sudden, we might continue to do that,
Hmm.
but we're no longer compelled to do that.
Gotcha.
The difference, I mean, that makes it sound like there's a choice, but it's not so much a choice, but the option to be uncultured is the word that comes to mind, but that's not quite right.
That's good.
Isn't it?
Like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can be uncultured. I'm quite good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I just find it interesting with the spirituality groups that really not many of them produce so-called enlightened people. It's they're just enamored with the process. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you can understand that. I mean, my experience with Jed McKenna in particular, because there was a period, I don't know how long, it was probably over 12 months, where I listened repeatedly to his audiobooks. Every time I got in the car, I'd have his audiobooks playing,
Yeah.
and I just used to get really high on that. It
Yeah.
was like, wow, it was an altered state that was very enjoyable.
Mm.
Um, and hard to put into words, but I guess it was something like, oh, well, it's possible for an ordinary person like me to get enlightened. So was that high note, you know.
Yeah.
And I suspect that a lot of these so-called spiritual groups and various satsangs and everything just do exactly that. People get high on it. They don't ever break through into
Yeah.
waking up, but they get high, so they keep going back because they like that high.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
Reading.
in a way relies on almost being there, but not quite.
Yeah. I think I mentioned to you that reading Liberation Unleashed, that there was a paragraph in there about not knowing, and I've always tried to know and work out, and just that moment I stopped trying to know, and I was just in this space. It was almost like my mind has been a handbrake. I tend to defer doing things, and after that, I did like 6 things, call my tax agent, call my super, organize things for my ailing father, call my sister, all these things that my mind would say, I'll do that later. So just having that space of having some relief from the mind was liberating in itself.
Mm.
So, well, that killed the mood.
No, it didn't.
No, not at all. And I think, Kevin, there's something that we can, not that I'm saying you did it, but we can, we can discount is the word.
Yeah.
That is such a poignant moment when that happens, and just keep watching that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Just keep watching it. We do discount those moments because they don't have any appeal for the mind.
No.
None at all. But you experienced something there which was very beautiful.
Yeah.
You did say that it almost felt like the mind was a handbrake. Could you remove the word almost?
Yeah, for sure. It was a handbrake. Without a doubt.
There you go.
Yeah, no doubt.
In that not knowing, there's a knowing. That is such a paradox.
Yeah. True.
Really. Just yeah, that's beautiful. It really is. Yeah, you did change the mood.
Yeah.
It's a good example of, and it's something I experience as well. You know, when silence falls and is happening, we do tend to be much more aware of what the mind is going on about in that silence. And watching that is a great opportunity as well to see, because it's like we're in an exposed situation when there's silence, and the mind abhors silence. It just it wants to fill it all the time, and so there'll be this inclination to, oh, somebody say something, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But silence here in this group, when that happens, is a great opportunity, and one to be enjoyed if that happens. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
And what you'll find is that no, everybody didn't get into a downer as a result of what you said, but everybody was contemplating, at least for a moment, they were contemplating how that affected them, what their version of what you just said was going on. And so it can be really good.
Yeah.
But if you feel the need to fill the silence, to talk, or to want somebody else to talk, then that's a great realization too. That tells you
Yeah.
something. It's not right or wrong. It's just something that happens. And
Yeah.
yeah.
I had that need to say something. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess I have a need to say something. Can y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to be on my phone because when I'm on my computer, y'all can't usually hear me. I guess it's daylight saving time and I'm an hour late.
No, it's daylight saving time, and well, it's now 7:27, so we started 27 minutes ago.
Oh, okay.
So you
Okay.
weren't very late. You're a little bit, that's
Okay.
all.
I thought I was an hour late. Anyway, I'll have to figure that out.
It should be normal time for you guys until your daylight
Until
saving
we change.
changes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. Got it.
that's when we'll reassess it, and I think we've got another 5 or
Month
6
at
weeks
least.
for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this is where I'm at. And it's an old story and it's a stories. I always say my son is my Achilles heel. And for so long I can do beautifully and not deal with it or worry about it, or it is what it is. He is who he is. All the cliches of everything. And I really do okay with that. And then I get sucked in, and that's where I am right now. I'm sucked in, and so I'm Paul, I thought about you. I thought about Alan. I thought about all of y'all. If with what's going on with me, what would they say? And it's like feeling to the body. What am I feeling? And I can never really feel things in my body with him. It's always in my face. Whatever I feel is in my face. And I tend to discount that because it's in my face and not my body. But anyway, whether that's here or there, whatever. But the situation is that finally, I listened to Pennell and them also, and I think it's the attachment, of the identity. I know I'm not this thing right here. I mean, I know I'm not this body. That's a given. That's not I don't question that. But the attachment to my son is still strong, you know. And in my and then it's like, okay, so what is the situation? And he's married, and the two of them are like toddlers playing house, and they're surviving at the moment. I don't know how, but anyway, so I'm helping them clean up so that they can get out of the chaos in their life. And they're very grateful, and so everything should be okay, but it's not, because now and I keep telling him, I don't want to be in your life, Alex. He goes, but Mom, you're really helping me, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. But so I was trying to figure out what is my issue, because it's me. I know it's not him. And it's fear. And it's that old thing that, not being a good mom, and what happens to him reflects on me. And I know it doesn't, but then it's like, well, what kind of mother am I if something happens to him and I should have done better? He's 37 fucking years old. This is crazy thinking, And intellectually, I know this is crazy thinking, And, I can go off and do great. Okay, so now I'm like, okay, I can't be around him because when I'm around him, and he's a lovely person, my brain gets sucked in. So then I'm like, okay, that's avoiding, like I want to go to a monastery, Yeah. So I mean, I don't know what to do. I'm, and then I know it's all a story. So it's intellectually, I got a lot of beef, but I don't know how to process it.
Mm. Well, that last thing you said, I don't know what to do. I mentally clapped. I thought, fantastic. That is just the best place you could be, except that you don't know what to do, or rather, you're not acting on that in a way that offers possibilities that That would be good to see. So it's not a case of doing or not doing anything. Everything you do or everything you don't do, and it's exactly the same, is just an escape. So really, neither doing nor not doing is the answer, or rather it's the portal into seeing what's actually going on. And so we can say, and we have said, and we've put a lot of emphasis on the fact that your mind will suck you into stories and take you away from what's going on. So a technique you can use to get around that is to get into the body. What is the sensation that you're feeling? What are the stories that are associated with those sensations? That's a way of getting out of your mind. But once we can do that, and we don't have to be doing it perfectly. Once we have the concept of getting out of our mind in place, once we recognize the value of that, that's enough. Actually doing it or being good at it is irrelevant.
And Vince, can I just jump in here and just something, what Vince is saying there, Kathleen, get into the body. There's a word that you used right up front. You said, I think it's attachment. That's something that might be worth exploring. What is this that you call attachment? Get into the body with that. Where's that sensation that's associated with that notion of attachment? And just explore that.
When I explored it, like I said, it always goes to the face.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, yeah, I want to jump in here just and to say, when you were saying before that, is not your face part of your body?
Yeah. Right there.
Okay. Yes, I think it is.
See how easy we can discount things? The mind says, oh no, it's not that. Sorry, Vince.
No, it's
Isn't
all
that
right.
funny?
Yeah,
That is
hilarious.
funny.
It is.
Because I think of the body as from the neck down. Why do I think that?
Yeah.
That's
Well,
crazy.
there is a logic to that, but yeah, but the mere fact that you were saying it's in the face and that's I can't work with it. It's like, wow, there's a wall being built that you didn't even realize, and now you do, of course. You've just that
Okay.
that laughing
Well,
you were
that's
seeing through
helpful too.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew. Well, maybe that's okay. And then I'm avoiding it because I'm saying it can't be that.
Yep, yep. And if we're avoiding it, well, that's how you're avoiding it. Well, you're avoiding it because it promises to take you into some pretty unpleasant sensations if you go there. And another thing that jumped up for me in my mind as you were talking was, what kind of a shit person are you going to be if you have no attachment to your son? That'll be absolute
Yeah.
failure as a mother, as a parent, won't it? So
Yeah.
you're caught in a quandary here. Attachment is the problem, but not having any attachment is another problem altogether. But it's still a problem. So you're stuck in the middle here, aren't you?
That's how I feel. That's how I
Yeah.
feel. And
So
that's how I
attachment isn't
feel.
the issue. Attachment is not the issue, but it is the portal, the entranceway for you to get into what the issue actually is. So it's the superficial. Well, that's not the right word. It's on the surface and noticeable that it's attachment, but it's never about the issue. The issue is never about what comes up. It is always what triggers that. Right? So what triggers for you this whole issue of attachment and not attached and attached and not attached. What triggers that for you is where the juice is. Now, you're not looking for an answer. I can see your mind's immediately going, oh, well, what is it? Well, what is it? Okay, what we want to do is recognize the questions, not look for the answers to the questions.
Okay.
So when we recognize that there's this question about what is attachment really pointing to, this issue of attachment, what is underneath that? Right now,
Okay.
you know, when I ask the question, what is
Yeah.
underneath it? It's like immediately your mind starts to look for a what. What is underneath it? Okay, but those things we'll never find by chasing them. They may or may not get revealed to us under the right circumstances. It's not imperative that they get revealed. We don't have to know what that issue is under there, just that there is something down there. And very likely it will get revealed, but it won't get revealed by chasing it. It'll only get revealed by it feeling comfortable with your proximity. I know that sounds weird, but you know,
Yeah, but that gives me some place to look, because
yeah,
like I said, all these little tools, in my toolbox, I was like, go in the body, and then it was in my face, and I was like, okay, that's not my body, and I cut it off there,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So maybe what I need to do is when I look in the body and it goes to the face and
Yep.
try to figure out what's underneath it.
Okay, yes, yep. So also what came to mind, and I mentioned a moment ago that I really like organ language, right? And so organ language that jumps up for me about face is about face, you know, what the Chinese call face. If we lose face, what are we saying?
Oh, guilt?
Yeah, again, I'm not chasing an answer, just let's
Yeah.
contemplate it. Let's contemplate it. If we lose face, right, that says something about how others see us.
Yeah.
Now, this is tricky stuff because others in this case could be you. It could be how you see yourself. Well, of course, it's always about how you see yourself, even if it's how you
Yeah.
imagine other people see you. It's the same thing. Right? So I don't know whether there's any juice there, but you will, when you talk about losing face, if it feels like nothing, then it's nothing, you know. But if it feels like there's a little bit of juice there, then that may be worth considering it from that perspective. So is this about how others see you as a mother? Or is it got to do with your relationship with your mother? You know, it could well be way back there that stuff
Yeah.
comes in. Again, we don't know, and we don't need to have a definitive yes, that's it thing happen. We're just at this stage is we're at the entrance to the cave, and we're just shining a torch in and having a look at and maybe we'll go in or maybe we won't, kind of thing.
Well, this is helpful because I've really, for the last week or two, I've been trying to figure it out because I just didn't know where to even look. I know that there's something wrong, but I didn't know how to find it or even how to look for it, And like I said, I cut it off when I couldn't find it. But so maybe what I need to do is when it comes up and it goes to the face, then I've got something to look at. So this is helpful. I
Yeah.
Because on so many other areas, I feel very equanimity. You know, I feel very, very. I don't know. I can't think of another word. Calm. You know, it's
Yeah, yeah, I
I
get
go
what
with
you're
the
saying.
flow, and you know, I'm really, you know, it's not black or white. It's whatever, and you know, it's all good. You know, and then there's Alex, and then I go
Mm.
take a nosedive. You know. Um, Not as bad as I used to. Definitely not as bad as I used to. So I mean, I'm much, much better. But just the fact that it put its ugly little head up, you know, and I didn't know how to deal with it. So
Okay, yeah,
thank
yeah,
y'all.
I get it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Thank y'all.
it's not an ugly little head. It's actually what kind of present you're going to buy him to celebrate the fact that he's done this for you. It's what a wonderful opportunity, eh?
Well, he definitely, you're right. You're right. He is definitely my learning instrument or
Yeah,
whatever, you know.
that's
And
a much, much better way to put it than Achilles heel.
yeah, it is because I always say Achilles heel. I'll call him my learning instrument now.
Yeah, yeah,
And
your opportunity. That's it. Great.
my
Yes.
opportunity. He's my opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you guys, and I'll keep all that in mind. Not in mind, but I'll do
Yeah,
it.
but see
I'll
what
have a place
happens.
to go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have a place to go.
And we
Okay,
can
thank
fine
y'all.
tune it at any time you want. Yeah.
So see, y'all are, you know, y'all are with me all the time. I was like, oh, what would Alan say? What would Paul
Well,
say? What would Vince
Yeah, yeah,
say?
yeah, yeah. And
two
that's a
things.
great technique, actually. You'd be amazed that things that you never thought of yourself will arrive when you
Yeah.
do that, you know?
And I'd like to turn it around, Kathleen, because you said, what would Paul say? What did Alan say when I get sucked in? Turn it around to say, well, what would I say to Alan when he gets sucked in?
Yeah, yeah, good one. Yeah.
Because we all do. And I think this is, I just love what you've taken us through there, Kathleen, because you've pointed to this issue of attachment with your son, but what you discovered, what was really going on was the mind was putting in an artificial delineation or separation with your face and your body. That's what was really going on in that moment. You know, you laughed, oh, of course, you know, that recognition. And we think that's incidental, but that's actually the present moment experience that was contributing to this confusion.
That's true.
And we discount that, you know, all the time. All the time, you know. Oh, that's incidental. I still need to get and know what's going on here. What is this? Give me the answer. Give me, but that's the incidental bit, actually.
Yeah,
That's why your son's such a good guy.
he really is. You know, oof. But anyway, okay, thank you guys.
Isn't this a mystery? It's such a delicious mystery, isn't it? Really?
It really is when you can get out of your head. It's yeah, when you can get out of your head.
Yeah, and it's just seeing that you've been taken into your head. That's the recognition. That's it. Beautiful. So good to see you, Kathleen.
Thanks.
Hi. You hear me
Right.
okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Kathleen. That was resonates everything you said about that. I have a lot of sensations in the face, a lot of sensations. And I've got an autistic son, and I would say he's definitely my learning. So something happened today, and this was just after listening to a session you had the other day. And I was doing some work, and I was getting more and more tight inside. Like it was such an uncomfortable feeling, such an uncomfortable feeling. But it was very familiar, and it was just getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And any little noise, I was just triggered and just had no patience. And what I would have done before is push through and just been grumpy with everybody. And I just remembered some of the things that were talked about, and I went and sat quietly. And I sometimes I do this to go and meditate, but actually what I did this time is just really feel into those sensations. Like really felt that the uncomfortableness, like where was it? And it was moving. And somebody just talked about the handbrake. Then the mind came in with ideas of what to do to get rid of this sensation, this uncomfortableness. And sometimes I noticed the body just got up sometimes, like it just got up, and I didn't think I'm going to get up, but I found myself getting up. I sat down again. And then it said, meditate, you'll feel better when you meditate. Well, that's another, it was just so subtle. I could see the avoidance. It was just like, do this and then you'll feel better. It was so subtle. And I just kept sitting because I remember, I think it was with Dennis one session, and it was Paul and you, Vince, and I just sat. And then there was just nothing. There's just nothing. And I saw that there was resistance to something, but again, the mind kept coming in with ideas of what that was. So I suppose I'm not quite sure. At that point, I could feel the sensations, then there was nothing. And then I got up and went about my day, and it was there was just more flow. There was not that resistance. But I suppose what my question is like, I kept feeling like I should look for a meaning. There should be something at the end of that. But it just there was just not. It just dissolved. There was nothing. I just followed the feeling and noticed what was coming in, but then it wasn't like I said, no, that's not true. It's just, well, maybe there's another. Will meditation really help? I don't know if any of that makes any sense.
Oh, beautiful. It's absolutely, I feel almost like crying with joy. That's just fantastic. You were following your intuition, and it was just doing it right. It was just so good. Yeah. Yeah. And you can see one of the clear things that you can see out of that is how the mind really wants to come up with an answer. It really wants to be able to describe and explain and have some closure about it. It promises satisfaction. This is the nature of the mind and the way it works. Always promises satisfaction. But you were just in such a wonderful place that you were able to just stay watching. It was fantastic. Yeah. Now, things may not have revealed themselves for you then, but that flavor of what you were doing was just so right, so good. Even though I say there's no right or wrong or good or bad, it's the best way I can describe it. It was just fantastic that you were able to do that, and it's the right road to be on. Just don't expect clarity in answers anywhere, but the realizations will change things, the recognizing of stuff. And you're right, it is subtle. It's just, yeah. But we develop our sensitivity to those things, and then they're much more revealing as a result of that. So yeah, yeah, what a great explanation you had as well. Thank you.
So good, so good. Lou, there's a couple of things that came up here for me as you were describing it, and as Vince said, it was just, well, it's hard to find a word. You were saying that the body got up. At one point you said the body got up and moved. And it's beautiful, that, isn't it? This somatic response, for want of a better word. You know, the body knew that it needed to move, perhaps. Somatic movement is such an important part of release of tension sometimes. So sometimes in terms of going with that, or as you said, you came back and meditated, there'll be it's not a right or wrong, but just to notice that both of those may be valid possibilities. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
So,
yeah, I hadn't thought about the body maybe needing to move, but
yeah,
I was presuming it was trying to avoid feeling again.
And that's the place of I don't know, isn't it? I'm not sure. Well, let's just lean into what feels to be the call here right now, whether it's to let the body move, and it could be to get down on the floor and let it writhe, you know, just do all sorts of movements. That can be a possibility too. Yeah, so beautiful. The other thing that you said at the end, there was nothing here. If if you didn't have that label of nothing, what would have been there?
Just peaceful.
Peaceful.
Very peaceful. And just space for, it was just space. Just quiet.
There it is. So the mind, and I may be making too many assumptions here, but often the mind says there's nothing here. But actually, that's just a label that covers up what is here. So just to say, okay, what is this nothing? If we want to just let the mind do its thing, okay, there's nothing here, but what is here? And there can be an incredible opening with that.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, what was amazing is that I got back to the same task, and it just, I don't know, an hour later, it was just done. It was not, there was no extra resistance or labels or.
Yeah. So what extra proof, if we use that word, is necessary, eh?
Yeah. No.
So I want to take the opportunity from one thing you said that I'd like, for people to get clearer in their mind if possible, and you too, if it's appropriate. And that is, you said how subtle this stuff is, and then you became aware that there was an inclination to move as well as the other one to meditate, and you wondered whether or not those things were escapism, whether they were avoidance kind of techniques. And again, it's a case of recognizing that those questions don't need an actual answer. That they are complete in themselves as a question. And so what I want to allude to is that we're at the point now where we've got over the fact that mind is always going to lead us astray. And, right. So now we're at the point where what will happen, how I put this, is that our intuition will communicate with us via the mind. And so our intuition is where thoughts have some legitimacy, some validity, if they come as a question. If they come as a statement with an exclamation mark, it's not coming from that place. So what your intuition will tell you will always be a soft announcement with a question mark at the end. So it'll always be, is it possible? I wonder if, that kind of statement. I wonder if this is avoidance, or is it, right? So what we don't draw a conclusion that the body moving will be avoidance, or that meditating will be avoidance. We go, I wonder if, and then we leave it at that. We're allowed to not find an answer to those questions. What we're doing is we're opening up the possibility of an answer revealing itself. So you can imagine that that if there is an answer that wants to be seen, it'll show up if we leave an opening for it, right? And it may or may not happen. So we're not invested in finding it. We're definitely not getting the searchlight out and hunting it down. What we're doing is we're just leaving it as a possibility to reveal itself if it is so inclined, so to speak. It's subtle stuff. It's yeah.
No, I there's been a few of those subtle questions. They're so quiet, come up, and it is about, and again, this comes back to what I was listening to. It was about beliefs, those unconscious beliefs that come up, and there was, they're little things like, why I eat a certain thing, or why I eat at a certain time, or they were just little, like, do you really need, is that really true? Yeah, notice those.
Yeah, what you're pointing to there in intuition, Vince, is so vital. And Lou, you were talking about beliefs. I mean, Kathleen demonstrated a wonderful belief that the face wasn't part of the body. I mean, we don't think of that as a belief, but that was something that was having a profound effect on the way she was experiencing.
Yeah.
And that was subtle in the sense, perhaps, that it wasn't noticed as a belief until it was.
Yeah. It's so subtle. There was another thing that happened on Friday. There was quite a lot of activity that at one point I would have called it overwhelmed. That there was a lot of space in the chaos, if that makes sense. Each time another thing came on top, I kind of inside, I just thought, here's another, I called it a test or a challenge. And there was part of me that was quite surprised at how I handled it. It was, but it was, everything moved in quite slow motion. Like there was a speed change. And I knew that it wouldn't last. This is a big thing for me. I knew that. Then the mind said, "Oh, I can't wait to get to bed tonight when this is all over." But in the moment, there was capacity to deal with each thing, and there was literally three things. I'm not very good with my head dealing with three things at once. And I can't describe it. It was just an ability to just have space to see what needed to be done first. And it's like unlatching from the other things. Because unlatch,
Yeah, you're doing a great job of describing the indescribable. Yeah, and I just love the phrase that the space in the chaos. That was just very, very provocative, that one. Yeah. It was like a painting that you just whipped the cover off for us. Yeah, well done.
Yeah. It's like even in the chaos, there was an ability to, like, I had this exercise where I just felt my upper left corner of my toe or something, and why did I remember that in the moment? Just got back in. It just got back into the body, just quite. And that's what seemed to allow that capacity. That makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. I don't understand, but it's something's changed.
Yeah, it's getting down to where words can't really do it at all. Yeah. So it's, I mean, you can see it. You can imagine a situation where you've got all this chaotic stuff going, and you're overwhelmed, and you've almost crunched down into a fetal position, being weighed down by all this chaos. And then we've got this alternative thing where we've got the same chaos, but it's much less dense. The density of it is such that you can actually almost walk through it and weave and bob to miss the bits that you were going to bump into, or that were going to bump into you. There's that. So we've got. How do you? I mean, they're worlds apart, the two things, and yet from the outside they look to be almost the same thing. But one of them is you with quite relaxed ability to just weave and bob and miss all of the bits that would bump into you, and the other one you're just totally overwhelmed and incapacitated and shrunk up into a fetal position with this giant weight of chaos on top of you. Totally different worlds for the same thing. Yeah, brilliant. I love it. Yeah.
And it was like too. It's like if it was the old perspective, it like that when it said, I can't wait for tonight to go to bed and it's all over. But it was like it was heavy on the body, but actually there was something else that had total capacity to deal with it. And it wasn't operating from the body side, it was operating from something much, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
So you use that word space a number of times, Lou, and it's so beautiful. Different words, as Vince was saying, it's so hard to describe this. Another word that sometimes can help is openness. Just been willing to be open, totally defenseless to what's happening. And as we're willing to do that, nothing seems to stick. That's the paradox. Just a total openness. And I'm astounded sometimes when people are in pain, to be totally open to that. And you feel the pain as an experience here. It's not the same as they're experiencing, obviously, but there's a willingness to experience the pain, but yet it doesn't feel painful. Well, it can seem painful, but yet it doesn't stick. Like you, it's a mystery how this is. But what you've described is so at the heart of what we're experiencing here. Just there's something beyond us that we can't describe that handles everything.
Yeah.
If we use imagery,
Yeah.
it's like standing in an open window that's got no glass. Just everything comes through, but nothing sticks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I need to talk today.
Great.
I first of all, I really missed the group. I was able to be present while I worked on this big project because I shut the rest of the world out. I wasn't there for my family, my mother, my grandkids, my partner. For 2 months, I worked on a big project, and it was really heaven. It was really one of the greatest experiences I ever had, really denying everybody and just doing what I wanted and what I needed to do. But then it ended, and I've been on a whirlwind tour for the last 3 weeks, and haven't been able to really be present. But something happened today that is so disturbing that I really need everyone's input into how to see this so that I don't lose my peace, because in a way, I feel shattered by someone else's behavior. It's not my behavior, it's their behavior, but because they're family, it feels like an assault on me. My younger brother was in the process of losing his house when COVID hit. And because of COVID and the whole situation in the US, the government or someone froze the ability to have people ejected from their houses. So, okay, so then COVID is over and this ban is lifted. And as far as I recall, last fall, like a year ago, he was expecting to be evicted by this whoever. He lived in a townhouse, so there was an association. And anyway, I don't know if the association ejected him because he didn't pay the fee or something. Anyway, oh my God. He has a wife and 2 grown daughters. And I've been thinking about Billy the whole time I've been involved with Fetters, and what is the issue with him? Like, what happened to our youngest brother, the youngest of 11, that was experienced differently than the rest of us? How did he end up where he ended up? And when he was a baby, I was put in charge of him because we all had younger children to take care of. So when I was 8 years old, it was my job. I slept in the bedroom next to his. It was my job to wake up in the middle of the night, change his diaper, you know, back then it was cloth diapers. So, you know, you're 9 years old and you're washing out a poopy diaper in the middle of the night. And then you have to get them back in bed and get yourself back in bed before you get up for school. And I remember what happened was at some point, he was maybe 2 years old or something. He covered his bedroom wall in feces, covered his bedroom in feces. And that was a signature experience for me because I thought, you know, I didn't, as a 9-year-old, I wasn't thinking, my God, he must be really angry. But this I think the story of Billy is that he's just really fucking angry. And then the other thing that happened to him that sort of shook my world was when I learned that our father would drop him off at high school in front of the high school and kiss him goodbye on the lips in front of all these other high school kids. And I thought, that fucker. To do that to my brother at that age, 14, 15 years old, kiss him goodbye on the mouth in front of his peers. What a fucker. So this is Billy. Billy had no boundaries. You know, there were no boundaries in our house. So he grew up without boundaries. And but he made a decision. He probably made the decision 3 years ago, but to me, I just realized today he made a decision to leave this property in horrendous condition. And I've been over at that house, and I called our other brother 10 days ago, and I said, they're moving. They need help. They have no help. They can't. How are they going to move? Pete, can you bring one of your vans? We've got to move him. So my brother came over last weekend, and the two of us helped my brother move furniture. And I started cleaning. I've never seen a living condition like this. Not in a movie, never. Oh God, it's so awful. And so yesterday I texted my brother. I said, Billy, will you please let me come over and help you? And he said, yes. He let me help yesterday, and I went in and I just worked like a workhorse, and I created order and started cleaning. And today I sent them a text, and I said, I won't be here next weekend. And the sheriff takes possession of it on the 15th of October. And I said, but I can give you today. I'll give you today, and I'll help clean. And they didn't respond to my text for like an hour. And when he finally got back to me, he said, well, we're leaving the house in that condition. And I thought, oh my God, Billy, don't you know that your reputation precedes you? Don't you know about karma? Like, you can't do this and escape this. You leave that house in that kind of condition, it is going to follow you for the rest of your life. Don't you know about the internet? You think the association won't publish images of what that house looks like. And I'm, I think back to a month ago. I texted him something, and he wrote me back, "Are you trying to shame me?" And I wrote, "I would never try to shame you." But today, I was thinking, oh my God, you have no shame. Or you are so identified with shame. I don't know. But I'm so disturbed by this. I'm so, I don't know, I just feel like crying. It's like, just awful. They're not on drugs. It's not like they're heroin addicts, but they live. They live. Frankie, come here. Come here. It's okay. They live like that, and I'm just devastated. I'm devastated. I would have worked overnight to clean that place, but they won't let me clean it. They won't let me clean it. Their water was shut off. I don't know when, a month ago. Do you know what that means? Oh my God, I just can't.
Let it out, Phoebe. Don't hold it in.
So so I was saying today to myself, I was saying, this is boundaries. This is boundaries. This isn't. I don't know. There's something that is so awful about their decision that I hear this voice in my head say, "Do no harm," and I think, but they are harming. They are deliberately. Frankie, they're deliberately smearing feces.
Yeah.
And
So it's really, especially with something as overt as this, it's really, really difficult to not focus entirely on that situation.
rather than my response.
Yes, it's easy to imagine that your response is about your brother's behavior or your brother's attitude. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, while that is true, it is also not really what your distress is about. What your distress is about is in you. So why is Billy like this? How am I involved in that? Would be an appropriate question, not to answer, but to just ask. what is it in me? What is going on in here? Now, as much as
It has
we
to do, yeah, it has to do with chaos. It's like
yes,
I can't, like growing up in our house, that was chaos. That was a war zone. It was an orphanage, basically.
yeah,
There
yeah.
were, 11 children and crazy adults.
And so, would it be accurate to say that your life and your house is very well organised? Everything has a place, and it's important.
Well, you know, it didn't used to be that way. When I was raising my children, I would say I was a hoarder, or a borderline hoarder. My daughter once said to me, Mom, if Dyfus ever saw our house, they would take us from you. And
So that was a reflection of the chaos that you lived in as a child.
yeah,
At that point,
yeah.
yes. And then something changed for you?
Yeah, I think my other siblings who had houses that were in order and resources, they made money, and so they had nice houses and they kept them in order, and then my son got a house, and he and his wife are minimalists. And I don't know if you know what that means, but it's like they, if they have 4 people in the house, they have 4 plates. It's like, but I babysit at their place and come home, and I'm like, how can I get rid of the shit that is around my house? Like, how can I create more order? Because the more order you have, the more peace you have. And then, so especially my son has modeled for me order and cleanliness and peace. And but 11 years ago, when I had to move from South Jersey to where I am now, I couldn't do it. My husband had left me, and I had this house that I'd been collecting clutter in for 24 years, and I couldn't move myself. So I called on my sisters, and my sisters called in the family, and I think, I don't know, 8 of my siblings showed up with their spouses, and in one day they emptied my house and threw away bags of huge black bags of trash, and a lot of good stuff got thrown out that day. But that's when the order started. And then when I moved into the new place, I just loved the order, but I kept saying this to Billy in the last 2 weeks. I said, Billy, I needed help. I said, moving is one of the hardest things in your life. I needed help, and it's overwhelming, and I want to help you. And but the shock of it is that someone doesn't want help. They don't want that help. And that was shocking. I'd have cleaned that place. I'd have stayed there for 12 hours and gotten it clean, and I could have done it. And the fact that they want to leave it the way it looks, and I thought, I have sisters that would have taken video or pictures, and it's like, I would never do that.
So is what you want for Billy, it seems to me, is to have an experience like you had when you changed from chaos to order.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And to have, and to believe in him and to say to him, you can do this, babe. But I don't think he can do it with that attitude. So he's bringing with him this attitude, and that is the karma. And that,
yeah, for sure, yeah.
that's
So obviously it disturbs you that he's being, however you might describe it, he's being vengeful or something. Okay, so that disturbs you. So that reflects on you as well. Eh? Does this make you a failure as a parent?
yeah, that's beautiful. That's it right there.
Watch the mind go crazy over that one.
It makes me a failure as a caretaker. Like my role is a caretaker, and and it makes me a failure as a caretaker.
But it was young you that was tasked with looking after him, wasn't it? And even though that happened way back then, and that was your job then, it's now that you feel this inadequacy, this failure. But it's not really about you, the current you. It's about the young you looking after him and not teaching him, well, what you didn't know at the time, because you were in chaos as well at that time, weren't you?
Yeah.
So it's not logical that young Phoebe should feel guilt and shame over this. But logic's got nothing to do with this, is it? It's an emotional issue, of course. And then how can you live with it? And then you have to accept that he's going to cause problems in his life by having this attitude. That hurts as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's so funny because I keep trying to help them. Like I had a Honda Accord that was a Honda Civic. Anyway, it was in really good condition. And instead of selling it for, I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000, I gave it to them because they had two grown daughters and only one vehicle between the whole family, and so I gave it to the girl, and Billy hit a deer with it. So, or a deer jumped out and got hit. Within 6 months of this car that was in great shape. And so I feel like I'm looking at a train wreck, but they're causing their own train wreck. It's like, if they think leaving that house in the condition they left it, which I've never seen filth like that in my life.
Yeah.
They think that's not going to follow them. And you know what I've been thinking all week of saying to them? Oh, I thought I want to send them a card and say, you are worthy of order. You are worthy of cleanliness. You are worthy of beauty. You are worthy of. You are worth surrounding yourself with beauty. Calling them to joy, like call them to this joy.
Yeah, it's a really, really, really horrible, horrible.
Powerlessness. And Alan, I've been thinking about you. I've been thinking about you for the last month and a half, ever since you said that your son used to call from London if he could find a payphone. And I've thought, shit, you know exactly how I feel. You know exactly how powerless I feel. And how, so I've been thinking about you a lot. You know, how do I let go of my daughter and let her live her life with consequences that she sets in motion? And my brother, my youngest brother, who it's not like he got the tail end of the dog. He was just the shit. He's just the shit that came out of 11, the tail end of 11, you know, and he's just playing that out. But I just want to weep.
And you should weep. It's really beneficial and positive for you to let those tears flow. Let that fully feel that emotion that you've got there without trying to describe it. Don't put labels on it. Rather, just let it out. It's a combination of things that's just too complex to say it's this or that. You know, there's sadness, there's grief, there's compassion, there's empathy, there's all sorts of things in this. And expressing it is valuable, really valuable. But once expressed, and if you can fully express it, there will be then a reevaluation or a realignment of things go on, and then you can get down to the work that the opportunity this is offering you to see just what it is in you that really gets, you know, this stress so active. So it's not, you will always, you'll get pulled to say, oh, it's that situation. Right? And all your logic will say that. But that situation, as much as it exists and is real and all of that, that's really a way of you avoiding what's going on inside yourself. What's going inside yourself is where the juice is for you. And the only thing, you will have good effects on him working on yourself, but you can't have good effects. You cannot help anybody who doesn't want to be helped. And he doesn't know how to want that. He doesn't know how to want that. It's beyond his experience to be able to accept that kind of help or whatever. Because of his own whatever's going on for him. Yeah.
What Vince just said there, Phoebe, I think is so, just let it in. What happens in you cannot not be felt by your brother Billy. So this deep sorrow that you have, you know, let it be truly felt. This is where the call for radical honesty resonates. When you feel fucking whatever, just allow it to have you. Allow it to have you. There could, if you look, there could well be a tendency to push back. I shouldn't be like this, or I'm going to fix this, or there'll be some sort of resistance to that. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it's that resistance that's holding all this in place. So to be really honest with what's going on in you, and you know, if howling happens, just let it happen as best you can.
Okay. All right.
And that's authentic honesty. And then,
All right.
then that's how the purifying, for want of a word, happens. The clearing happens. You know, as happened in your house. You know, something happens and everything's taken away. We feel we're losing things that we want, but no, it's such a glorious clearing out.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And at all times you're there for Billy if he reaches out. You know, that's the best we can do, is just being there without imposing ourselves or our expectations.
Yeah. And that's what happened today. He called me and he's like, well, you know, because what happened yesterday was I said to him, whose bedroom's at the top of the stairs? And he said, his eldest daughter's. I said, is that all trash? And he said, well, let me check with her. So he called her and she said, yeah, she didn't want any of it. So I went up there and I spent an hour and I just took those giant contractor black trash bags and I went up there and for an hour I just filled trash and hauled it downstairs and swept and vacuumed the rug and emptied that room. And it's the only room in the entire house that's empty and clean. Well, apparently it really upset Isabella that I did that. So he said today, well, Isabella said she didn't understand. She thought that she didn't have to clean that stuff out. Because I'd said to her younger sister yesterday, I said, when you get over to the house, the challenge is for you to, when you clean out your room today, which was yesterday, to have it look like Isabella's room.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, no, that's not good because I just shamed that whole family. Because
yeah, absolutely. I can relate to this so well, Phoebe. We had a situation where there was a family with 3 young kids and the authorities were threatening to take them away because you couldn't walk in the front door.
Yeah.
And what we did was, there was a court case and they were told to clean up the yard and the house, or else the children would be taken off them. And they were given 3 weeks to do this. And after the first week, nothing was happening. Yeah. And I went down and I said to the chap, all right, let's order a skip. Let's get a rubbish skip. And we got a 5 cubic meter rubbish skip. And I started hauling out this rubbish. And he started to help me, but it wasn't within half an hour that I noticed I'd be putting stuff in the skip and he'd be taking it back inside again. And something said to me, Alan, you've stepped over the line here. You're doing something that in his heart of hearts he doesn't want to have to happen. As it transpired, we got enough cleaned out so that the authorities said, okay, you can keep the kids. But I always had that sense that I had violated his sovereign choice.
Yeah.
That you know what I'm saying, don't you? I mean,
I do. And I said what I said to Billy today. I said, Billy, this is a boundary issue. I offered my help to you, but you get to say what you want and what you don't want. He said, He said, this is the way I want it. I said, okay, then. That's
beautiful. It. Yeah, that's it. I mean, it pained you to the core to see it happening, but that's the boundary.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've recognized that, Phoebe. That's so good. Can you be at peace? Can you find in that there is a peace at all?
Now, talking to this group is just makes the difference, you know. And Pernille said something that just is so brilliant. She said, people whose boundaries were invaded when they were little children have no boundaries. They don't know what healthy boundaries are. So people invade their boundaries, but they cross other people's boundaries all the time. And when she said that, this was, I don't know, 5 months ago, I started looking. I was like, oh my God, I break people's boundaries every single day. Like when I started looking at how I didn't respect other people's boundaries, even my boyfriend's dog not respecting Frankie's boundaries, it changed our relationship. And our relationship 5 months later, my relationship with this dog is radically different than it was a year ago. It's so fascinating, but I didn't know. And Billy doesn't know. But he will learn or he won't learn.
He will. So right now, this recognition, how does that feel? How does that feel?
It feels really grounding. Like I feel really grounded and at peace and calm. And this group is so sanity providing for me. And Kathleen, I just want to tell you, I just love you. I have loved what you've shared. And yeah, I just don't know that I've said that before, but I really love what you share.
Well, Phoebe, let me interject since you brought me up. 3 years ago, my son called because why did he call? He was standing in the corner of his kitchen and he goes, Mom, I don't even know where to begin to start to clean up. And he was starting to get a job. It was after COVID. He had lost his job with COVID. And I say the two of them are like toddlers. So I went to the house. I couldn't open the door. The trash was knee deep.
Yeah.
And I got to the corner of the kitchen and I looked around and I thought, I don't know where to start and I'm healthy, you know? So I told him, I said, I'll be back tomorrow. So 2.5 years ago, I spent every other day I would go there and spend a couple of hours. And I moved about 88 of those contractor bags out of the house. And at the end, they had left for 4 days. And I had a friend of mine come in and we really cleaned the house. And when I left, I told him, I said, I don't ever want to see this like this again. Well, my son was appreciative. I had crossed my daughter-in-law's borders, completely crossed her borders. And so she did not say thank you. She didn't say anything. And Alex says, well, she's kind of mad because you moved her spices. Or I was like, how did she even know she had spices? There were 3 deep underneath, you know? But anyway, but I took what was said, you know, and I told Megan, I said, honey, you don't have to worry. I will never do this again, you know? Well, anyway, 2 years later, this summer, he had internet trouble and they knew that Cox Internet wasn't going to be able to come into the house because they were back to where they were. And so he called me and I said, Alex, is it as bad as it was? He goes, well, it's not quite as bad. And I don't want to lose internet service because he works from home and that's without internet, he has no job, you know. So I went in, but now it's a different, matter of fact, I'm going there when I get off the phone with y'all. I've probably taken about 60 bags of trash out now. But I only go and I said, I'm a 2-bag lady. I'll come in and do 2 bags and then I have to leave. But the difference now from 2.5 years ago is she's appreciative and asking me. And I told my son, you know, I said, you know, I don't want to be in your business, you know, and he's like, no, Ma, you're helping us because you're showing us what we don't know how to do. And she's on board now. But you talk about filth, honey. I know what filth looks like. It's
Oh
3
my
feet
God.
deep. It's
Oh
3
my
feet
God.
deep.
And they always had animals.
Oh,
And
3
so,
dogs, 4 cats, plus some other things. So I'm with you,
yeah,
honey.
so
But
you
just
it's, yeah, I horror is horror. I, I, I have, and I think like, well, like what that just touched on was hopelessness, that feeling of being a little girl and just feeling hopeless, like it's hopeless. It's hopeless. I am trapped in a nightmare and there is no way out of this.
another thing I want to say is that the previous time when I went there and I walked out of the house and Alex walked me to my car, I said, honey, this is what depression looks like. I said, so I'm just gonna
Yeah.
I'm just gonna call it depression. And this is what depression looks like. And so when he called me back the second time, he said the same thing. He goes, Mom, he goes, we were both depressed and this is what happened. And so
Yeah.
so talking
Yeah,
about
that's so
hopelessness,
beautiful. Yeah.
the only thing I can say is that they're letting me help them now. And when I go, nothing is, it's not worse when I go. They've maintained what I've done, you know. So they're learning,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
so I felt hopeless. I felt the hopelessness too 2 years ago. I thought I hadn't been in the house until he called me again. And maybe, you know, but expectations too. It's like if it happens again, it's going to happen again, you know, but anyway.
Right. Well, that's it's all of it's helpful. It's all helpful. And um yeah. And I know the issue is me. It's not Billy. It's not. Yeah, but Kathleen, I love that compassion on your part to be able to say to them, this is what hopelessness looks like, or depression looks like. This is what depression looks like. Yeah.
What age is Billy, Phoebe?
Pardon
What age is Billy?
me? He's 9 years my junior, so he's 60.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
so
his
it's being the
girls.
youngest. I was just going
Yeah,
to say, being the youngest of your family, I imagine he's seen a lot of shit growing up. Um, just from some things you've said, and him being the youngest. My brother, the youngest, seen a lot of shit growing up too. Um, he didn't make it. He died 20 years ago. I thought when you were talking at the start, you were about to tell us that Billy was dead. It felt like that to me, and it was nice that you seen at the end there that it's not really about Billy. What kept coming up for
yeah,
me was shame, shame, shame. The way families can be, the way you grow up, the way there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of hiding, there's a lot of keeping up appearances. One view for the outside world and a different view internally, and trying to hold all that together. And Billy's the black sheep of the family. He's playing an important role for the rest of you, and you're hitting right up against it now. So he's your best teacher right now.
yeah. No, the black sheep of the family was the first to die. My younger brother, Christopher. Yeah. But you know, Dennis, I had that thought last night. I was thinking Billy's going to be the next one to die. His heart.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll commit suicide, but I think his heart will just. He's just. His girls didn't. No one helps him, and he said to me. He said, "Well, I used to come home. It's my fault. It's my fault the place looks like this because I'd come home from work after putting in a full day, and instead of cleaning up, I just play Polly Pockets with them, or I just wanted them to feel loved. So I never taught them how to clean." And I said, and Mary doesn't know how to clean. He said his wife, she was the youngest, and she was the princess, and her mother never had her clean a dish. Well, the kitchen sink was piled with garbage, and I mean,
Yeah. I remember just what you said. I remember thinking the same about my brother, like he'll be next, and just touching into that shame. Like there's a hopelessness to the whole situation of when you think of the family and what could have been, but what was kind of taken from you all because of what happened and how people grew up. And yeah, because it did really feel like you were talking about the death of somebody. It was that severe, but obviously that's always in the background. Ultimately, they'll die, and yeah.
And the girls, the whole family puts on such this facade when they get together with us in a large gathering. And what I would love to do is to be able to really hold them in the light and hold them in the promise and hold them in faith that they'll learn. They'll learn what they need to learn. And I can believe in that possibility, versus shaming them.
Yeah.
I don't want to shame them. I don't want to shame the girls or Billy or Mary. And I hear myself say that, and I'm thinking, you're a fucking liar.
I don't know. Billy, to me, Billy sounded like a survivor, and he sounds like he'll survive, and maybe he'll be okay.
Yeah,
he's made it to 60.
Yeah, he did, and that's a wonderful thing for me to be able to say to him. Say to, hey, babe, you're a survivor. You're a survivor. You got this, and I am honored that they let me through that front door. So anyway, God.
The other thing that you just brought up, Phoebe, that I thought was really valuable is that you said you don't want to shame them. Then you said you're a liar.
Yeah.
Both are probably true. Both, you don't want to shame them, but you do. And that it's when you say you do, it's not that you want them to accept shame. It is that you want to motivate them to change with the shame.
Yeah.
So every situation is way more complex than the simplistic notion that we come up with about whether you do or you don't. It's quite reasonable that you want both, and it's quite reasonable that you want neither. They all fit in. So when we start to look at it the complexity of it, is what you want, right? Your big heart, as I see it, is that you want good for them. And if shaming is a way to bring that about, then you would use shame. But of course, that isn't going to bring it about. All you're going to do if you heap shame on them is get them being defensive. about
Yeah,
things. So
yeah,
the way to help them to change is paradoxically to accept the way they are.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so anyway, but see, the way they are is the way they are, and your connection with that is much more tenuous than you'd like to imagine. What your really the issue is for you about you, and then hopefully you will be able to transmit something to them, uh, just in your relaxed acceptance of the situation, while at the same time appreciating a better way to be.
yeah, yeah. And you know, I'm thinking, girlfriend, you got your own work to do. Your issues with procrastination. I mean, that's your dirty house.
Mm-hmm.
And it's no different. It's no different. It's just
They're just different details, but they're same thing
yeah,
going on. Yeah.
yeah,
And the brilliant thing is you can see this stuff and they can't. That's sad that they can't, but you can, and that's really good.
yeah, yeah.
Phoebe,
And
sorry.
yeah, no, go on, Alan.
No, go on, Phoebe. Oh,
I was just going to say, I'm so grateful for this group. I'm so grateful for the Fetters and this group in particular.
hmm. I noticed you said a little while ago, Phoebe, that you'd like to hold them in the light so that they would see what could be, or words to that effect.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, this is the just to see that desire is so beautiful, and to hold ourselves, allow the light to shine in our own selves is the first step, because that will
yeah,
show us the hows and the whys and the whens of if there's anything that we need to do to help, then that will be in perfect alignment. It's
that's
not holding,
brilliant.
it's not holding the others in the light,
Yeah,
it's allowing the light to show us. And a couple
yeah,
of things you said, and Kathleen also said about her son, saying, we don't know how to do this. And Kathleen now, with her timing, taking 2 bags out, there's an acceptance, coming back to what we were talking about, accepting them in their situation. There's an infancy here that they don't see as you do with how life could be. They don't know how to do it. And we can't force that. And that's the beauty of shining the light allowing the light to shine in our own hearts. We'll be shown the increment, what seems like baby steps perhaps to us, but it's so necessary for them.
yeah, yeah,
I remember a situation where with a family that I felt I should go and help, and somehow it never happened. And I saw them a few months after, and I said, "Look, I'm so sorry that I didn't get in touch and help you." You know what the person said to me? "I'm so glad you didn't." I thought, oh my goodness. You know, the life was telling me not to, because the urge to help was not alive.
yeah,
And it's such a lesson that there's times to be involved and there's times not to be involved sometimes.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
just keep the light, just that openness, that total openness. It's another word for the light, that space. How many words can we find for this? But just allowing what is in the moment to show itself to us, and we'll know.
yeah.
Does that make sense?
God, it does, and I just wish, like, I wish I could share what we have here with all the people I love. You know, especially the ones who are struggling. It's like, oh my God, this is so enriching and comforting and joyful and fucking real. I just love what we have. I love this.
And you help make it so real.
Thank you.
this is
And
life.
that's one of the ways it will happen, that you will help those that you love by being that way yourself. So what you'll find
Yeah.
is that you won't engage with the superficial bullshit from Fox News when you're talking with them. You'll engage with them when they're authentic, and they will
Yeah.
even if they don't do it consciously, they'll start to respond to that with their own version of that. So we do.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Yeah.
it's quite tangible, the
Yeah.
effect that we have on others. Yeah. Even while at the same time they'll say, "Well, we don't think you've changed at all." And you're going, "Jesus, I'm a totally different person. I have no idea about who I used to be." That they don't
Yeah.
see that because they relate to their own projection of you. But those things will affect. They will. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you. God, I feel so much better. I really feel at peace right now.
Excellent.
And I can listen to this over and over again and go back and pull out pearls and say, oh, today I need to focus on this pearl.
And when you go back and listen to it, Phoebe, don't just skip over the first bit where you were so distressed. Just feel that and
Yeah.
feel what brought the change. There was a moment when things seemed to switch for you. Just to be aware of what happened there. And now when you're at peace, as best you can, and it happens so subtly, we're taken out of that, but just watch for what might take you out.
Okay, good. Yeah.
And often it happens before we realize, so we feel a bit of a failure sometimes, but no. Just again and again, just watch what takes you out of that peace. Because that piece
Alan,
sorry,
that piece is what? Finish that and I'll tell you something.
that piece is always there. It's never not there. It's just that it's covered up.
Yeah. And what I was going to say is, Alan, I think about you almost every night. Because when I wake up in the middle of the night after 5 hours sleep, which I do every night, I think about, can I feel whatever's waking me up? Can I let myself feel that? And you had invited me. Can you just let yourself feel it? And night after night, I say, not tonight.
But it's still there, isn't it?
It's still there, man.
That's so beautiful, yeah. And you never know, with Billy and his family, what has happened that they might be thinking of all the time, something you've done, and it's a seed of something so beautiful, but it takes time to flower.
Yeah.
The honesty we've heard this and shared this morning is just breathtaking.
I just wrote that word down, Alan, because I was thinking of Phoebe, and I was going to say to her, what I love about you, Phoebe, is your honesty, your realness, how you bring yourself and this issue and express it openly. That was lovely. Because you were saying about how do I bring this to my family, and then I start thinking about your last project, and I wonder, did it go well? Did you hand it over? How did it go? And did you share that with your family? Do they know about that, and how much work and pride you put into that?
Well, I this is my MO. It's a really weird thing, but I can't share when I'm in it. I can only share like weeks later when I've processed it. Like when So how it went was I just ran out of time, and I wasn't not able to complete two of the figures to my satisfaction, but I got it done, and had it framed and delivered to the corporation, and it it was delivered on a Friday, and I didn't hear anything for 5 days. And I showed up at the unveiling, and I said to the CEO who had commissioned it, what did you think? And he said, well, I haven't seen it yet because it's been veiled, and today's the unveiling. And I thought, wow, I guess you don't eat the icing first when you have a piece of cake. You know? Anyway, so I was present for the unveiling, and it, you know, there were 120 people maybe there. Everyone clapped, and only one of the CEOs, the only one who actually approached it and looked at it, and the other four brothers, like one of them got back to me the next day and said, on my way out, I checked it out, and you made us all look better than we look in real life. But that's all I've heard. But it didn't matter because no one knew the vision I had except me. So I'm the only one that knows that those two figures aren't the way I wanted them. But I'm still fighting to get it back. I've sent the CEO 2 emails, and I've said, I only need it back for about a week, but I would really like it back. I have minor but important changes to make. So he'll either let me have it back or he won't. And if he doesn't, it's still $30,000 in my pocket. So what the hell? What is my problem? You know? So, but it was really fascinating because my boyfriend's partner said to me, did you share it with your children? And I didn't. I couldn't. It was so revealing to me. I was like, shit, you can't share this. Like, you're so raw that you can't trust anyone, not your siblings, not your children. You can't trust anyone with this till the shell's back, till the protection's back. And then you can share. But I saw it so clearly. Yeah. But I mean, who knows? I didn't ask the other brothers what they thought. I could send that email out.
Yeah. Open yourself up to more praise or criticism.
Yeah, which is fine because the shells now I'm protected again. Now I'm not raw. You know, I can take and honestly, I'm always looking for feedback. I'm self-taught, so my ability has just gotten better because I hone it. That's how it's gotten better. I just keep honing it. And how can you make it better?
The other thing that came to mind, Phoebe, when you talked about your family and sharing it with them was, and I've seen similar things in my family, instead of being the one going to them to fix and help with their problems and the effect that has on them and you, why not try with, like Billy, bringing a small problem you're having to him, get his advice and his help, see how that
That's
affects
beautiful.
him.
Yeah,
and then
that's
maybe a bigger
beautiful.
problem. And it might change him and encourage him. Oh, well, if someone wants to know what I think, it could have a profound effect on him. Where he's ringing you, how are you, Phoebe? Are you getting on all right? You know, because it sets them up for, well, I'm somebody important that people want me to help them with their problems. So you have
That's
to
a
show a bit
great
of
idea.
vulnerability and a bit of weakness. But you could do it in a planned way. Bring a problem to him and ask him for his advice. And listen. Watch him grow.
That's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah.
But don't be condescending. And when you bring the problem to him, whatever you've got in your hands is not what the problem is. The problem is, how do you connect with him in a way that you want to be connected with him?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have a photograph of that painting, Phoebe?
I do. Let me see if I can pull it up for you guys. Let's see. Oh, let's see. I think so I'll show it to you, the overview first, and then let me see if I can show you the overview, and then I'll get close up to it. I'll zoom in. So
Wow.
it's 40 inches across.
Mm-hmm.
And I drew right off the edge of the paper. I mean, the framer just came in 1/8 of an inch on the left and right sides. I drew right off the side of the paper. But this is the oldest. This is the CEO who commissioned it. Let's see.
Wow.
And then this is the second brother.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite parts of the entire piece is his hand. I just love the way that turned out. And the third brother is the one that I'm not very happy with. But I took about 150 pounds off of his belly and his waist. And then the fourth brother, the greatest thing about this one was his shirt. It has these anchors on it, and the belt is a braided belt.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the braid, and I got those anchors and these little red dots in between. I was just so pleased. And the fifth one, Ray is so beautiful. And I just ran out of time. I think I did Ray in like a day. I was just out of time, you know. Well, I had done his body, but didn't get his face quite right. And so I'd love to get it right, but if not, then not. And it's really, really okay. I mean, I'm at peace with just let it go. Just let it go. It's okay. It's all right. And what I really would like now is 3 of the brothers have horses. The eldest brother has race horses, and the other 2 brothers have dressage horses. And I love horses, man. And I'm like, oh God, like commission me to be your favorite horse. But anyway, you know, this is what I'm next.
What comes here, Phoebe, is what a gift you have. What a gift. What talent. And also coming here, this connection with those five men, who knows where your influence will spread, what conversations you will have that takes them to places that we'd all love people to be.
Yeah. So anyway, it's really cool that their background story is the 5 brothers started this corporation company 40 years ago, and they had nothing. They had 2 sticks to rub together, and they build it and build it. And 4 years ago, they went public and sold it for $8.8 billion. And today it's worth $15.1 billion. And they're all billionaires, but they're just the most down to earth people. They're so down to earth. They're so hardworking. And I really love all of them. And each one reminds me of one of my brothers. Like, each one of them is like, the oldest reminds me of my oldest brother, Richard. And but the youngest, Ray, does not remind me of Billy. Ray's and they worked 6 days a week from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. for 40 years. And they just love programming. They just love it. They could program for the rest of their lives. And their joy, they found their source of joy. And that is awesome, you know. Yeah, it's inspiring. So finding that source of joy, like that's for you and me, Dennis, finding that source of joy. And you're mentioning John O'Donohue helped me so much working on that portrait. I can't tell you how much that helped. That struggle to get it right, that struggle to find the right word, to find the right expression, it really helped me.
Glad to hear it, Phoebe, because I had thought about tonight, and I wasn't going to mention it till you said it. The person I would recommend might be worthwhile listening to for a little bit now, where you are with your brother and the family stuff, might be John Bradshaw.
Okay, I'll put him on my list here. I don't even know who he is.
All the better.
But Spell Correct knew who he was. There we go. Well, my friends, I've got to thank you for hearing my confession. I've got to go have dinner with my partner. And
beautiful. I'm just sitting here in awe of that expression that came out in the 5 brothers. You know, how does that happen? It's just, I mean, the awe, how does that get translated into your finger movements and get such an authentic expression of who they are in the flesh? I mean, that is just,
you know,
Alan,
I want to share with you something Pernille said, which was really, God, it was so wonderful. I sent Todd and Pernille an image of it by email. And I had sent them the photo of the 5 brothers, the actual photo that I'd taken. I don't know, it took 300 photos the day of the photo shoot. And I selected one, and there was no one photo that I worked from. I took a head from this one, I took body from that, you know, I combined to get what I needed. But I sent them a before actual photograph of the brothers. And then at the end, I sent them the drawing of the brothers. And Pernille said, you did what artists used to do for the kings. You made them look the way they want to see themselves. And I thought, that's my goal.
Wow.
Like, and she said, the thing she said after, Frank, come here. the thing she said after that was so cool. She said that she can read body energy and language. And she said that when she looked at the photograph initially, each of them is so tortured in themselves, like they're so tortured. And she said, and your depiction of them is so clear, and there's no angst there. Their angst is not, it did not capture the angst. So it was beautiful. It was.
You got behind the veil of the angst, eh?
Yeah, yeah. And really, really, I know. I'm sorry. This dog wants dinner.
Okay.
Frankie, are you ready for dinner? Yeah, that's it.
We'll yield to the dog, and perhaps Vince, it's time for your breakfast too.
Yeah, I'll go along with that. Yeah, I just want to say, Phoebe, I feel so. The words aren't right. I feel honoured to know you. You're just such a lovely, lovely, lovely person.
Thank
It
you.
makes me want to cry just to say that. Yeah, you are great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Love you. I'm gonna sign off now.
So beautiful.
Yeah. So if anybody wants to say something, now's the moment to do it. And how I feel about Phoebe is how I feel about all of you. Yeah.
I'm just relishing the openness that was felt this morning, just exquisite.
Yeah. And I'm blown away by the the atmosphere here, the flavour of these meetings is so complex and so clear and so beautiful because of everybody's involvement, everybody just being who they are. That's how it gets to be the way it is. So we can all buzz on. Yeah, go on.
I think I'm just, it's such a feeling that of gosh, not very good at expressing what I'm trying to say, but like the pain that Phoebe was in at the beginning it's pure love. Like I could just, I mean, it's just amazing. It's all love. Like that pain is because she loves somebody. There's sorry, it just occurred to me that it's just in such a different way that we expect love to be. I can really feel it, just to be loved from afar. Whether you know it or not. I don't really know what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that it's just that expression of it just came through in pain.
Yeah.
We feel what you're trying to describe, Lou. Absolutely.
I don't know if Ramis is here and if he can.
Even if
you
he's
can.
not, he may watch the video, so you could tell him anyway.
Oh, just thank you, Ramis. It's it. Oh, thank you.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll wind up, eh? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.